Right, welcome back to Inclusive Design 24 2021, brought to you in partnership with our Platinum supporters, Adobe, TPJI Arc, Fable and Intopia, and our Gold supporter, Tetralogical. You can follow us on Twitter at ID24Conf, and if you have any questions for the presenter, tweet them using the ID24 hashtag for our Q&A at the end of the session. I'm very pleased to be joined by my equally follically challenged guest host, the inimitable Gareth Ford Williams. Gareth, over to you.
Thank you, Patrick. Yeah. Um, I wasn't expecting that. There we go. Well, actually, next we have Reinaldo Ferraz with a session titled Now It Is Easy to Add Captions to Videos on the Web. Reinaldo has been involved in the world of accessible design and standards since 1998 and is going to tell us about the latest updates in captioning technology for online media and the benefits captions can bring. So it's over to you, Reinaldo.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Gareth. Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here again in ID24. It's an honor to be part of this group of specialists here and delivering a talk in this international event. It's my second time here at ID24. The first one was talking about the lang attribute, and I like to bring this context of internationalization to the accessibility context because my main language is not English. I live in a country that we speaks Portuguese, so it's nice to bring context related to internationalization of language, and especially in an important event like this. So thank you to the invitation to be part of this event. My presentation will be about captions on the web because nowadays it's very easy to add captions on videos on the web, not only on the web, on social network, on websites, videos, or even files that you send like as a direct message. In the past was a little bit complicated because we didn't have tools we have today to help with this task. So now I will show you a lot of things that could help you to make the web more accessible for people who cannot hear. Well, let me introduce myself. My name is Reinaldo Ferraz, or Reinaldo Ferraz. I live in São Paulo, Brazil, and my main language is Portuguese. I work with web development since 1998 and with web accessibility since 2008. Here are my social networks. You can find me at Reinaldo Ferraz on Twitter, where I spread some content about web accessibility, Instagram, and even on TikTok, but without dancing. I like to share my presentations on SlideShare. It's also Reinaldo Ferraz. And probably in a few days, I will upload this presentation there in my SlideShare. I work for the CWeb.br. CWeb, it's a study center on web technologies in Brazil. We promote some experiments and research on web technologies. And also I work for the W3C São Paulo chapter. We are working to promote standards and bring the Brazilian community to build international standards also. And both are initiatives from the Brazilian Network Information Center and the Brazilian Internet Steering Committee here in Brazil. Okay, first of all, I just want to make a short introduction about this topic, why it's important to consider captions on the web. There are some scenarios that I want to bring to this presentation. Well, first of all, captions on the web are important for people who cannot hear. Captions are important for those with hearing impairments and for people who are not able to listen to an audio track at the moment. For example, a person in a library without headphones. Here I brought a picture of a web page from the Web Accessibility Initiative and a hyperlink for the video captions video because this video explains in details the importance of video captions. I will not play this video here, but I just want to let the link here because this video explains better than me the importance of video captions. My intent here is to show you the best way to add captions on videos on the web. And according to the World Health Organization, over 5% of the world population have hearing impairments. And I brought some numbers from the Brazilian scenario. According to some studies, some researchers here in Brazil, there are almost 11 million people with hearing impairments. So that means that a lot of people cannot listen the content on the web. And Brazilians always love to watch TV, not only soap operas, but TV shows, movies, and series. And even considering the local production, Brazilians watch a lot of content in other languages, especially in English. And for example, Brazil is the third country where people spend more time on internet. And this graph shows you how Brazilians use YouTube, used YouTube in 2021. Brazil is the third in number of users and the fourth in YouTube views in 2021. And why I'm showing these graphics at this presentation? Because English is not our main language. And there's a study saying, a research in Brazil saying that less than 10% of Brazilians speak English. So captions are important for content in other languages or even in the same language. It's easy to understand other languages when you have captions available. Even considering the same language, people who speak English can understand better the accents or what people are speaking if you have captions in the same language. And there is another topic that's very important. It's the number of people who watch some content on the web without turning the sound on. I brought this piece of news from Forbes that said that Verizon Media says that 69% of customers watch video with the sound off. And here are some details from the study with more than 5,000 US customers. They found that 69% viewed the video without sound in public places, and 25% watched with the sound off in private places. 80% said that 8% of customers are more likely to watch the entire video when captions are available, and 50% of customers said captions are important because they watch the video without sound. And there are these numbers from a website called hotspot.com. They perform a poll in their website with their users and ask how often do you watch Instagram stories with the sound on? And it's very interesting because only 29% said that always watch the Instagram stories with the sound on. 50% said never watch Instagram stories with the sound, and 56% said that sometimes they prefer to watch with the sound on. So captions are important because people sometimes cannot listen to the audio and they just prefer not to turn it on, the audio on their website or social media. So my presentation will focus on these three types of captioning, considering the open caption, the closed caption, and the transcription, and how you can do this to add captions on the web. I will focus my presentation on captions for pre-recorded content, for live content captions. There are a lot of possibilities and settings in video conference tools, and it could be in a new presentation about this topic. Well, the first one is the open caption. This kind of caption is always visible to the user. You cannot turn it off. It's part of the video. It's embedded on the video. It's very common for social networks and direct messages when people send a video file for another person. There are some tools that help people to make these captions available. I just list three examples here, three of them that made open caption for free. They are Vid, Sublime, and the Capwing. All of them can detect the audio track from the video and transcribe it. Can detect the audio track from the video, transcribe and synchronize with the audio track. In the past, these tasks were very complicated, especially to synchronize the text with the audio track. It's not nowadays. It's not necessary a specific software for that. It's all online. I remember a long time ago when groups of people joined to translate and synchronized captions from series like Lost. It took a huge effort, and they spent a lot of time to do this task. And these tools, they are a little bit different from each other. Some of them have some interesting features, such as configuring the caption size, the position, the caption color, and other things that you can configure in each tool. I selected these 3 tools because they have the option to detect audio in Portuguese, but there are a lot of other tools that transcribe audio in English for videos. And I'm just showing these 3 of them because they are nice tools to insert the text inside the image. I will teach you how to use this in a separate file also. And if you needed to transcribe the audio without timing and without synchronize with the video, there are some tools that you can use to make this task more comfortable. For example, you can add the audio or a video in an application like this one, this Transcribe, and you can type besides the video, following the audio and typing directly on the application. And you can set some configurations and some other stuff to make it more precise. But if you are looking for a tool that recognizes the audio and converts to text, for example, in a live presentation, there are a lot of options available online, like this speechtexter.com, that when you speak, it starts to recognize the audio and the transcribing text using the speech API to detect the audio. Or even simple solutions like text editors like the Google Docs. You can use the voice typing to transcribe all the audio, and you can share the document with the live transcription. This is very interesting because you can speak and the people access this document at another computer can see the right moment when you are speaking and converting to text. The problem is that only works on Google Chrome because of the speech API. I was looking for some free tool that can share the link with live transcription, like the Google Docs. You send a link and you have the audio transcription for other person, but I couldn't find it. So if somebody knows any tool, just send me. I insert in this presentation. And another very nice tool for transcribe is the Web Captioner, webcaptioner.com. It works in a lot of languages, and you can use it to recognize audio from you or from the computer. You just set some configurations to detect the audio from your computer, and it transcribes it for you in a lot of languages, but it works only on Google Chrome also. One topic that was very hard to do in the past was considering captioning for content from third-party applications, like embedded content from social network or from another website. Nowadays, most social network applications have some tool to provide captions for the video. On Instagram, for example, you can add captions in stories and IGTV videos without generated captions. It looks simple, but unfortunately, this kind of captions in stories are only available in English. So here in Brazil, we cannot caption our stories. Only the IGTV video caption works in Portuguese with the auto-detect mode. On Twitter, you can upload a caption file from a .srt file. The platform does not generate automatic text, and it's not available for everybody. I performed that text and I performed a test, and I found that there are some countries that the caption does not appear for the user yet. And for Facebook videos, there's a possibility to upload captions when you publish the video, but without the auto-detect audio to transcribe for the user. And TikTok announced the auto captions in April 2021, but it's only available in American English and Japanese. For other language, it's necessary to add manually the captions on the video. The other type of captions is the closed captions. It's the captions that the user can turn it on or can turn it off and make some adjustments. It's very used in web applications. And there's a subtle difference between captions and subtitles. Probably for English speakers is more clear, but in Portuguese, for example, both means legendas. This difference is very subtle, but it's very important because subtitle provides alternative text for the dialogue, and closed captions provide alternative text for the dialogue, but also for other parts of the audio such background sounds, noises, phone ringing, and etc. And there are some kind of closed caption formats, and I will talk a little bit about some of them, especially the WebVTT and the TTML. Well, WebVTT is a W3C recommendation since 2019. It's an easy way to create captions on the web. It comes from the SRT format, which is used a lot in the past to burn DVDs with captions synchronized. I think right before the use of web to watch videos. It's a very simple format. It's just a text file in a .vtt extension with the information about time and text when the captions start and when the captions finish. You just need to remember to save the file considering encoding in UTF-8. To use this kind of caption, you need to use the track element from the HTML in the video element. And there are some important attributes such as label to add the name of the caption, src-lang to declare the language, and the kind attribute. This kind attribute is very important, and you use it to set the type of caption you are using. And these are the values for the kind attribute. If you set the captions like subtitles, it means that you are providing translation of the content that cannot be understood by the viewer. For example, speech or a text that's not in English in an English language film. If you set for captions, it means that you want to provide a transcription and possibly a translation of the audio. It includes important nonverbal information such as music cues or sound effects. Descriptions are only for the description of the video content. Chapters, if you are using to navigate the media source, and the metadata. If you are using scripts to manipulate this video, you can set the kind attribute as metadata, and it's not visible for the user. And you can customize these captions using CSS. This is the fun part to use the WebVTT format. In this example, I'm inserting a white text in a blue background for captions. And in another part, when I set the pseudo element QB, I will change the text color for yellow. And we can perform some adjustments in WebVTT file, just adding some attributes and considering, for example, the caption position and the caption size on the screen. Look at the second block. When I set the line in 10%, it means that the position of this line will be 10% from the top of the screen. And on the third block, when I set the size 10%, represent that the size of the captions block, not the text size, will be only 10%. And here it's how it works. The first block I showed the text in white and the background in blue because of the CSS adjustments. The second one changed the color for yellow, and the CSS put because of the CSS, and put the captions on the top because of the attribute, the line 10% attribute on WebVTT file. And this next one shows the small size of the caption block because of the size 10% attribute. So it's very easy and very flexible format for some adjustments on the captions. And you can use this WebVTT file in almost all the browsers. Nowadays, they support the use of this WebVTT format. And now I'll talk about the TTML. TTML is the Timed Text Markup language. It's another type of captions, and it's also a W3C recommendation, and it's used a lot in services on the web. W3C is working on the second edition of the TTML, but it's not finished yet. The base of the TTML is the XML. Here I have an example that shows some paragraphs with some XML attributes and set the starts and the end time of each block of text. You can change and control a lot of things using this format and using attributes inside this XML file. This type of caption does not work in most of the native browsers without scripts like the WebVTT, but there are a lot of services using the TTML, such as Netflix, Vimeo, YouTube, and others. Some companies even have guidelines for captions in their productions, like the BBC and Netflix, for example. Netflix has a very interesting guide with very well detailed how you need to set your XML document to consider a TTML valid for the platform. It's a very interesting article that explains how to create captions for Netflix movies. And this work in this specification is so important that the W3C received an Emmy Award for this work with the TTML in 2016 because of the accessibility. This brings more accessibility for the content you present in a video. And how we can generate text from closed captions. I showed you some tools that create synchronized captions for open caption video. And now I will show you some of them that can generate text captions in files for closed caption. It's not necessary to type the whole captions in a text document to create a VTT file. There are some tools that help with this text. For example, I remember that other tools that I showed you, like Vid, Sublime, and Capwing, they generate the caption in text files, and you can download it, but only in the paid version. There are some other free tools that can help you with this task, like the VTT Creator tool, which recognize the audio in English and synchronize and transform in text. And this HepScribe allows you to download the captions in some extensions like VTT, SRT, and other formats. You can use the trial version to create some options, but you have the paid version for more time using this platform. And YouTube, you can create caption files from YouTube videos, not only for videos to play on YouTube, but in other platforms. The first thing you need to know is you need to set the language of the video when you are uploading on the platform. And then in YouTube Studio, you can find an area that you can add your own captions. If you have your own captions, you can add your own captions in this subtitle area. You can upload a file or transcribe the captions on YouTube. And the file formats accepted by YouTube are the subrip, the SRT, the WebVTT, and the TTML file. But remember that YouTube generates automatic captions for video. So when YouTube added the auto-generated captions, you can download it in some formats like the VTT, the SRT, and the SBV format. And you can edit and make some adjustments right direct in YouTube platform. It's very cool because you can get the captions provided by generated automatically by YouTube, and you can make some adjustments right in this platform. And then when you make these adjustments, you can download this content, and you can use this in other platforms, like some of them that I showed you. But this is the final format from YouTube captions in WebVTT. There are some things that you can remove, but the base of the captions are here already. So, for example, I'm using these captions generated by YouTube to add captions in my Twitter videos, for example. Twitter does not recognize the audio from the video, so I upload the video on YouTube, wait for the automatic generate, made some adjustments, and upload this caption directly on Twitter. And if you need to convert the captions to another format, for example, you create a WebVTT format and you need to convert to TTML, or from TTML to SRT or other type of format, there are some services and tools that provide this for you. It's not necessary to do it, open the document and make adjustments. You can do it online. You can do it online with some specific tools. So I hope this presentation can help you to find the best way to add videos, to add captions on your videos. So my advice to you now, I think, just to finish my presentation here, is to remind you that it's time to add captions to your videos on the web. As you can see, it's very easy to add captions on the web, on social network videos, on any kind of platform. It's easy nowadays to create this kind of files. And thank you so much for the opportunity to talk here about the captions in ID 24. My contacts are here, are Reynaldo Ferraz on social network, and my mail is reynaldo@nic.br. And if you have any questions, I'm available here or via email or social network. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Reynaldo. That was a great talk, and a topic that's probably very close to my heart in the run-up to ID24, because I've been messing around trying to organize the live captioning for the whole event, which nowadays has become a lot easier. Like you say, there are much better tools now, and sometimes even free tools, or affordable at least tools. But yeah, it still feels a little bit like magic when everything kind of has to interconnect and you have to organize it, particularly for live captions. Gareth, I know that the topic is something that you might have heard of a few times before as well in your past lives. So
yeah.
Have we got any questions for Reynaldo?
I'm currently scanning down this. I don't think there's anything that's picked up on Twitter yet, but Reynaldo, I'd be really interested if you could give us, while we were giving people a little bit of time to have a bit of think about the things that they'd like to ask you, but if you've got any tips for any kind of considerations about the user experience for captions. I keep wanting to call them subtitles, I'm afraid, because in the UK, subtitles are captions and subtitles are subtitles. It's all subtitles. So we get used to this. So so captions, I'm getting it right. So some of the considerations in the user experience, such as dealing with, obviously producing them, because some people are going to be caption users and lip readers, and other things like dealing with multiple speakers and captioning.
Yeah, it's quite complicated. I think my presentation focus specifically to create captions in videos, especially in videos, in pre-recorded videos. But sometimes people speak very fast. For example, I think I speak very fast. I was looking for a time. I think I spent less than half an hour to talk about this topic. So it's hard to set the time, the size of the captions. You need to consider also for the user made some configuration, because sometimes the size of the caption are not so so comfortable for the user. Depends on the platform you are using. If you set one caption size on computer, it's different from the smartphone or the TV. So it's quite complicated. I think we're starting to create best practices to create captions for everything. Like Patrick said, now we are working to create content online with captions. So live captions, I couldn't imagine in the past, like 20 years ago, a conference like this with live captions online. So I think we have some steps to do, but I think we're doing a great job to make this content in video more accessible, and because it's very difficult to bring content that moves so fast. We have different accents, different speed of speaking. So, well, I don't know what I recommend to create captions, but I think to think about the user, think about to consider the possibility to user to set these captions to make this comfort for them.
Okay, so a lot of it is about user control, being mindful about all of the different platforms that we're dealing with. Yeah, I can see that. So where do you see captioning going? Is, obviously we're kind of, as you said, we've come a long way in 10 years. And so, and if you've got this kind of view of understanding how things are developing, what kind of developments do you think we're going to see in the next 3 to 5 years? A little bit of
no pressure.
No. Yeah, considering my position, thinking that I'm a non-native speaker in English, I think the automatic translation makes a lot of efforts, but there's a hard work to do yet. For example, that's a fun fact that I use in some presentations, some translations from directly from Google Translator. Like if I try to translate sirloin steak, for example, sirloin steak here in Portuguese is contra filé. So if you translated if you translated directly to Google Translate, it translated like against the beef. It's not the real name of the meat. So imagine if Google is doing this kind of mistake, we have a huge effort to consider other languages with different structures. And I think the point we need to focus now is the internalization of these automatic captions. For example, I'm speaking in English, but if somebody wants to listen in Portuguese, you can translate it automatically without loss.
Okay, we've actually just got a question which is absolutely bang on topic with that. So from Mitchell asking, how do you indicate the language of a subtitle track or closed caption track? And can you mix languages in a single track and indicate the language?
I'm not sure if you can mix in a single file. You need to set, for example, in HTML, you set directly on track element. You define the name of the language, the name, the label, and the kind of caption you have and the language. But I'm not sure if you can use like the lang attribute like HTML in WebVTT yet. I need to consider changing the captions to other language, to consider this changing the for other languages. I think it's not possible like a web page you set a span and lang an or lang ptbr to consider changing the language. You need to use it in all the file. But I think it's a nice topic to study and understand how to do this in multiple files or even multiple languages in the same caption file.
Yeah, we had an interesting case. I think it was last year. We had a presentation in Portuguese. Unfortunately, I can't remember off the top of my head whose it was, but I clearly remember that we did a very interesting mix of our standard intro, thanking the supporters and everything else, and the Q&A. We asked the questions. I think it was myself and Jared who asked the questions, and they were in English, and then the answers were then in Portuguese, and it was great to listen to it, to witness the session. But when it then came to creating the captions for YouTube, we had that conundrum of what do we do? Do we then translate what we said in English into Portuguese as well, and then we have one single Portuguese one, or do we translate what do we do? Do we translate his Portuguese version into English? So we kind of had to do a halfway house for one of them to basically say, yes, YouTube thinks this is the Portuguese version, but the questions are in English, and sorry. And then we had a fully translated version into English and one fully translated into Portuguese, if I remember correctly. So yeah, if that was something that could be tackled, I mean, you then turn the captioning into its own kind of markup language again, and it's kind of, where do you stop? At some point you're going to start having HTML in there, but having more flexibility, particularly for language, would certainly be something interesting for the future from my point of view.
Yeah, but I think in this case you can we need to set the language in English to get the captions in English, and then set in Portuguese to get the captions in Portuguese, and then mix both in the same file.
Yeah.
But to create one caption and it's not a single language. I don't know how YouTube deal with this. How did you get it? Only in Portuguese or in English?
I think the just the caption we got automatically was basically a mix of English and Portuguese, and then we had some volunteers that very kindly helped us translate either bit, so to have a fully English and a fully Portuguese version. But then, when it came to uploading it to YouTube, we basically, for the mixed one, we just had to cheat and say it's English, but not really, kind of thing. So, yeah.
Yes. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunities there. I mean, I'm waiting. We got any more? I don't know if we've got any more questions coming in the minute, but I mean, there was a few observations. I mean, some of the things that have come up over the years around captioning is about how they can help around sort of. Well, actually, I'm a caption user, but I use them more for cognitive load. I actually find they reduce cognitive load is to know what's going on. And I was always massively impressed when a few years ago, when the Avengers film first came out, not particularly impressed with the first Avengers film. It was fun. But hey, they made Hawkeye hearing. What's going on? He's profoundly deaf. But they messed that one up. But the subtitler did a beautiful job in making Hulk's subtitles green and Captain America's were blue. And so you start, and obviously Iron Man's were red, etc. And so they did a lot around this and to help identification. So have you seen any of those kind of common practices where it's kind of, going beyond, sort of the conventional UX that you see in subtitling?
Yeah, I think this is a point that need attention. It's the UX for captioning, because we are considering the same color of captioning and sometimes you cannot see the content in a, for example, a caption in yellow, and you have a bright sun, and you cannot see the content in caption. And I'm a caption person also. Sometimes I prefer to watch Instagram stories without sound. I don't know. I just prefer to watch it. And sometimes you cannot understand what is going on video. And I think these automatic captions that are providing by these tools, they are very cool, but it needs some adjustments. We need to have some options to set size, color, because it's not so, it couldn't be so comfortable for us. I think we have a very long work on the UX to consider the captioning, to make it more comfortable for everybody. The example I just said, it's fantastic. You cannot see the caption in a very important time of the movie. So,
Excellent. I think that's it. Patrick, have you got any more questions?
No, I think I'm good. Otherwise, I'll make this all about myself, and that's not the point of ID24. But yeah, no, I'd just like to say once again, thank you very much, Ronaldo. That was a great talk, and as I said, close to, by sheer coincidence, as if we'd planned it, very close to both my heart and Gareth's. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Adam.
And now for the audience at home, if you like this session, like and subscribe, as the kids say, on YouTube. And you can find us on youtube.com/inclusivedesign24. And if you subscribe, you'll be kept in the loop on all our future events. A reminder that ID24 is a respectful community, and you can find our code of conduct on the Inclusive Design 24 website. Inclusive Design 24 is brought to you with thanks to our supporters: Adobe, TPGI Arc, Fable, Intopia, Tetralogical, Center for Inclusive Design, InfoAxia, Intuit, Web Directions AAA Accessibility Conference, Adrian Rosselli LLC, and Can Access. Inclusive Design 24 will be back on the hour with our next session. See you then.